Well, it's that time of the week once again. We are here for movie reviews with Andy Godfrey, author, evangelist, and of course, film critic. Hello, Andy.
Hey Nathan, it's great to be with you. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. And it's great to have you with me for movie reviews once again.
Yeah, we've got some new films to talk about, which would be great, and I'm really looking forward to that. I said to you off air that I thought we should do the box office top 10, and we'll pause at a couple of places because there are new films in the top 10 this week that I have seen, and we can review them. Shall we do that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, let's go for it. So, number 10 in the box office this week, we've got Small Things Like These. If you remember, we reviewed this a few weeks ago. Cillian Murphy plays a coalman in the Republic of Ireland in the mid 70s. Comes across some very strange, weird, terrible goings on at a local convent. And this relates to what we know happened, where thousands of girls were used and abused in convents. They were taken and expecting babies. They were promised help. They never got it. And this is a really sobering film. It's a really good film. It's quite a short film, set at Christmas, so quite topical, but really, really good film. Small Things Like These, absolutely recommended for people to go and see. Number 9 in the box office, and I couldn't believe this. This is The Polar Express. Now, this film came out donkeys years ago. It's a Christmas film. It stars Tom Hanks. It's a computer-generated animated film. You're nodding. Loads of people will have seen it. It's a chance for people to see it back on the big screen. Lovely story about a train that runs through the North Pole and brings Christmas cheer, and a little boy who's not having such a good Christmas, but it's back in cinemas, The Polar Express. So do look out for that. Good one for the family to go and see. Still in cinemas, celebrating its 20th anniversary. That really makes me feel old because I remember seeing it first time round. Number 8 is Heretic. This is the film starring Hugh Grant. He gets a knock on his door from a couple of Mormon girls who say, "Would you like to learn more about the Church of the Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ?" Much to their amazement, he says, "Yes. Come on in, tell me all about your faith." And for the first hour, there is a discussion about faith, about religion, about Christianity. Really intriguing, really gripping. Then it kind of turns into a more sort of sinister horror movie. Hugh Grant turns very sinister, very nasty. I was gripped throughout, although I did think the ending was a bit of a letdown. But I know lots of people who've loved it. Hugh Grant at his best in Heretic. Number 7, we have a film which is the only one in the top 10 I haven't seen, which is All We Imagine as Light. This is a film about set in Africa about two ladies having an illicit relationship. Let's leave it at that. I haven't seen it. Can't say any more about it. Number 6, and I can't believe this is still in the charts. I mean, really, Red One. This is yet another film in which Father Christmas gets kidnapped. I mean, how many of these have we had over the years? And it's rubbish. It is absolute rubbish. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, in the first of 2 films in the top 10 this week, he plays Santa's security man. He has to go after Santa. He has to enlist the help of an ex-SAS special operative to find Santa. They throw everything at this but the kitchen sink, and I'm sure I saw a kitchen sink in there somewhere. It is really I have got a friend who's seen it and really enjoyed it. And I went, what? There's always an exception that proves the rule. It is predictable nonsense. Santa getting kidnapped again. Give me the 1950s film Santa Claus Conquers the Martians any day over this drivel. It really is absolute predictable drivel. By complete contrast, the new film that we're going to talk about, number 5, Conclave. Now, I'm sure you know what happens when the Pope dies. So we are in the Vatican. The film starts, we see the dead body of the Pope. He's being prepared for his burial, and a conclave has been called. A conclave is when all of the archbishops from the Roman Catholic Church from all over the world come together in Rome to choose a new pope. Okay? They are locked in the Sistine Chapel. Now, if you're going to be locked in anywhere, be locked in the Sistine Chapel. Because I've been to the Sistine Chapel, it takes your breath away. You know, a famous painting by Michelangelo of God and Adam on the ceiling, touching fingers. It is an absolutely stunning place. So Ralph Fiennes, who's been talked about as a possible winner of the Oscar this year for Best Actor for this role. He's so good in this. He plays the dean of the Roman Catholic Church who is in charge of the conclave. So he's in charge of getting all the archbishops from the world all together. He's in charge of their security. He's in charge of looking after them. He's in charge of making sure the conclave goes smoothly and the voting process for the new pope goes smoothly. In the process, he begins to discover that the three leading candidates to be the next pope all have got dark secrets in their past. And these dark secrets are slowly uncovered. And he begins to question whether these men are not only right to be pope, but whether they're right to be bishops in the first place. It's based on a thriller by the author Thomas Harris. I haven't read the book, but it is gripping. This is like a murder mystery whodunit set in the Vatican. It is absolutely gripping. It has a surprise ending, which I'm not going to spoil. It has a great story. It has great performances. There were some really good other actors in this. John Lithgow is in this. Stanley Tucci is in it. Great actors. But Ray Fiennes is absolutely fantastic. It's almost like he's playing a detective within the Vatican, investigating the past of these three men who one of them is going to be the next pope. And they've all got hidden nasty secrets in their past. I really enjoyed it. I was absolutely gripped. One of the best films of the year. It's called Conclave. Go see it, folks. Honestly, it is really, really, really good. Number 4 in the box office is Paddington in Peru, third Paddington film. They've taken Paddington out of London. Big mistake. That said, Paddington is from Peru. This gets very Indiana Jones-ish. You know, this gets Paddington does Indiana Jones, basically. And there's one point where he's even been chased by a big bull bearing, as Indiana Jones was in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, it's okay. The best moment is the end scene. Stay for the end credits. There's a scene halfway through the end credits. There's something right at the very end of the credits worth staying for. Again, a family outing to the cinema this Christmas time. You could do worse than Paddington in Peru. I just didn't think it was a wise decision to take Paddington out of London. None of the books are set in Peru. This film is. It gets very Indiana Jones, but, you know, it's an adventure story. It's fine. It's Paddington. Number 3 is Gladiator 2. Sharks in the Colosseum, which never happened. Gladiators riding rhinoceroses in the Colosseum, which never happened. However, swords, battles, epics, a tie-in with the first film. It's entertaining. It really is a big screen epic. See it on a big screen and you will appreciate it. If you like swords, if you like sword fighting films involving gladiators, Gladiator 2, obviously the film to go and see. Now, this really surprised me, Nathan. Number 2 is Wicked. Now, I thought Wicked would be number 1 for a very long time. It was number 1 last week. It's number 2 this week. It might, I would be so far as to go so far as to say it will be back at number 1 next week. And I'll explain why I say that in a moment. But Wicked, based on the stage musical that was based on a book, came out in 2003, sequel to a prequel to The Wizard of Oz. This is the story of how the Wicked Witch in the West, which Dorothy kills at the end of The Wizard of Oz, she melts her. This is how she became wicked. I've seen it twice. Now, it's 2 hours, 40 minutes long. So that's 5 hours, 20 minutes of my life sat in the cinema watching this. I would gladly go and see it again. Great songs. Defying Gravity, which is the final song of the film, is just an absolute banger. I mean, it's a fantastic song. This is a great musical. It is a musical set in the land of Oz. It is a prequel to The Wizard of Oz. There is one brief glimpse of Dorothy and her friends from The Wizard of Oz in the film. It is the story of how the Wicked Witch became the Wicked Witch of the West. And it's also the story of how Glinda became the good witch that she is. So it's a story about friendship. It's even a story about actually oppression of certain people in society. There are some very serious themes that underrule this. And when I saw the stage show, I was really surprised at how heavy some of the themes were. And they really come to the fore in this. This is only part 1. We get part 2 this time next year. It's a bit like when we had Lord of the Rings come out. We had to wait and wait and wait, didn't we? You know, I don't know about you. I got so impatient waiting for the next Lord of the Rings film. By the way, we'll be talking Lord of the Rings next week. So Wicked is, if you've seen the stage show and loved it, you know what to expect. You'll also know what's going to happen in part two, because, but it's a spectacle. Again, see it on the biggest screen possible. See it with the best sound possible. It's really, really good. Fantastic. Great musical. The reason why it's number two is because Disney released a new film this week. And parents, I think, in droves have been taking their kids to see this. So this is Moana 2. And Moana 2 has come straight in at number one in the box office. Straight in. Now, when I was in Paris a few weeks ago, there were posters for this everywhere. You could not move around Paris, around the metro, for seeing a poster for Moana 2. It is a sequel, obviously, to Moana. In that first film, Moana is a Hawaiian girl living on an idyllic sort of paradise type island. She has an adventure. She meets a demigod played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I said he was in 2 films in the top 10. He's covered in tattoos that move around and talk to him. Fantasy character. And she saves her people from destruction. And she becomes a friend of the sea. She's able to talk to the sea. Okay, so the sea becomes a living creature that Moana can relate to. Now, in this film, Moana is out and about exploring other islands other than her own, looking for other civilizations to befriend. We cannot be the only people living on an island in the Pacific Ocean. There has to be other people out there. So she's out looking for them. And she hears tell of a mysterious island which the gods sank. An evil god sank a long time ago. Because this island had currents that led up to it that would bring people together, and he didn't want people coming together. If she can find this mysterious island, she can unite all of the peoples of the other islands around her. It's a bit of a convoluted plot. I wasn't quite sure how little kids are supposed to follow it, to be honest. I followed it, but I was having to concentrate. None of that matters. What matters is the fact that there's some action, there's some slapstick humor, there are some songs. Now, unlike Wicked at number 2, the songs in Moana 2 are not particularly memorable. I mean, I came out and I'd instantly forgotten them. I came out of Wicked 2 humming some of the songs. I came out of Moana 2, I'd instantly forgotten the song, but people are clearly loving it. I mean, in its first week, it's gone straight in at number 1 and taken £12 million in the UK alone. And I think Disney must be breathing a sigh of relief, because originally the plan for Moana 2 was to put it straight onto Disney Plus, put it straight onto streaming. They changed their minds at virtually the last minute, Disney, and said, let's put it in cinemas. And I think they must be breathing a sigh of relief that it's done so well. My prediction, and I stand to be corrected on this, and I probably will be, but my prediction is that next week it will drop and be replaced again by Wicked at number 1. We will wait and see. It's kind of fun. It's convoluted. It's a little bit complicated. There's some slapstick involving a bug-eyed chicken. There's some slapstick involving Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson with these tattoos that move around on his body. I didn't find it particularly funny. My daughter, Amy, who lives in Jersey, who is the world's leading expert on all things Disney, she went to see it. She went to the first screening that she could. She came out, she messaged me, she said, Dad, it's not as good as the first one. So there you go. But I know people who've loved it. I don't think it would be doing quite so well if it hadn't been, if it wasn't for the fact it's Christmas. They've chosen the time very definitely to release it. And I think that it's okay. But there you go. That's the box office top 10. The ones I would really recommend going to see: Wicked, Gladiator 2, Small Things Like These, and Conclave, the film set in the Vatican. It's really, really good. Just wanted to mention that there is a film out today called Rumours. Now, where do I begin with this one, Nathan? Rumours, I saw a few weeks ago at Universal head office in London at a press screening. And it is a film about the leaders of the G7 countries. Okay, so the G7, as we know, is an intergovernmental political and economic forum consisting of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, us, and America. Okay, so you've got these. Have I missed one out? Have I missed one out? Germany. Sorry about this. Let me just get the 7 right. The G7 is Canada, France, Germany, Italy, America, the United States, and additionally a representative of the European Union. Okay, so there are 7 leaders. So when this film Rumours opens, we are in front of a castle in Germany. There are 7 microphones all set up, and 7 people walk out. These 7 people are the leaders of those 7 countries. So we've got the European Union representative, we've got the Chancellor of Germany, played by Kate Blanchett, we've got the President of America, played by Charles Dance, and we've got the Prime Ministers of the other countries, including GB. They stand there for some photographs. They then go into the castle grounds. And as they're walking through the grounds, the President of Germany says to the other 6 international leaders, I've got something I want to show you. She takes them into the grounds, and to one side, there's an archaeological dig going on. And what they have uncovered is a very unusual body. It's a body, an ancient body, sort of covered in gel. Right? Very unusual. They can't identify it. They don't know what it is. The archaeologists say, we really don't know what we found here, but we found something amazing. An old, really old body covered in gel. The 7 leaders, now please trust me on this, this is the weirdest film I've seen all year. The 7 leaders then go to further into the grounds, and they sit under a gazebo, they get served drinks, they get served food, and the 7 of them just sit around having a discussion. These 7 prime ministers. But then something begins to happen. They realise that their security detail, a couple of hours go by, they realise none of their security details have been in touch with them. They realise their phones haven't buzzed for a couple of hours, which you can imagine for a prime minister is quite unusual. They then realise that the waiters and waitresses haven't been to check on them for 2 hours. Something's going on. So the Prime Minister of France, of Italy, decides, right, I'm going to go back to the castle. I'm going to find out what's going on. When he gets back to the castle, he comes back to the group. There's nobody in the castle. Everybody's disappeared. We're isolated. It's just the 7 of us. Everybody's gone. They then begin to realise that something really catastrophic may have happened to the world. People have disappeared. They walk back through the grounds and they encounter, this is where it gets so weird, they encounter a giant brain. And that's not a spoiler because it's in the trailer. There is a giant brain sitting in the grounds. Just a brain. They then have to try and get back to the castle, but these slimy creatures that the archaeologists have uncovered are starting to come to life and chasing. Now, that's really told you too much, but that's all I want to say. This is a weird end of the world apocalyptic film. I mean, seriously. It's about the end of the world. It is about how nations, rather than working together as they're supposed to be working together, have destroyed the world. It is about how clever mankind thinks he is, but he actually isn't. It's got some great performances. Charles Dance is Joe Biden. I mean, he literally embodies what the president of America. Kate Blanchett is brilliant as the president of Germany. It is a film that I laughed at and I kind of went, what is going on? It's weird. It is absolutely bonkers. And I like bonkers. I really like bonkers. It won't be to everybody's taste. A lot of people are going to see this and going to go, oh, hated it, didn't understand what was going on, didn't get it, but you have to suspend disbelief going into this. It's a 15 certificate. You have to suspend disbelief. You have to say, okay, I'm going to go into this knowing that this is going to be really, really weird. Okay. And the ending is, well, so go see it. It's called Rubus. It's out in cinemas today. I saw it about 4 weeks ago at the Universal head office in London on a small screen. Honestly, it has stayed with me. one of the films that has stayed with me. It's thought-provoking. It will provoke discussions about politics. It will provoke discussions about the end of the world. I am going to use it in sermons to talk about the end of the world, and Jesus Christ coming again, because that's what we believe as Christians the end of the world holds. Honestly, it is, but it is just, the only word is weird. The only word is weird. Kate Blanchett was on a political program on Sunday morning being interviewed about it, and she said when she first read the script, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. And that's kind of the response that I had to it. So rumours in cinemas today, weird. Go see it. Shall we do just a couple of films for home viewing this weekend, Nathan?
Yeah, that sounds good.
I don't know what the weather's like up there. It's pouring with rain here in Milton Keynes, so people may not want to go out. So 2 films that are out for streaming, and one of them is a Christmas film, but we'll come to that in a moment. So the first one I just wanted to mention is If. So I don't know, Nathan, if you, when you were small, had an imaginary friend. I apparently did.
I think I did, actually.
Okay, no, fine. Lots of kids have got imaginary friends, right? So the question that this film asks is, what happens to our imaginary friends when we grow up? And the answer is, they go to a retirement home for imaginary friends. I'm not kidding. So this is obviously a fantasy. We meet a little girl who is who discovers, and I'm for a magical process, this home full of imaginary friends of different, and she tries to reunite the imaginary friends with their original friends. That's what she's on a mission. She's trying to reunite older people with their imaginary friends who are now older as well. Okay, so the imaginary friends are real in this world. If this film had been made by Steven Spielberg with Tom Hanks starring in the lead, we would all be going, it's a classic. It is an absolute classic. It's a work of genius. Unfortunately, it wasn't made by Steven Spielberg, and Tom Hanks is not in the lead. And it doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite gel. It's fine. I think it will probably be better sitting watching it at home with a bowl of popcorn than it was sitting watching it in the cinema. Because, you can pause, you can get up, you can go out and so on. But it's an entertaining family fantasy movie that you may fancy sitting down with the kids this weekend and having a look at. It's called If, IF, for imaginary friends. Do have a look at it, but it's not great, but it's fine. The other one that I wanted to mention as a Christmas film, and we'll start now, I think, won't we, over the next couple of weeks, let's do Christmas recommendations. So I want to recommend a film that's streaming called The Holdovers. The Holdovers. Now, I saw this in January, okay, this year. It is in my top 5. It has not left my top 5 since January of the year. This is set in a public school in Boston. And what happens in a private school in Boston, what happens is that some of the pupils have to stay in the school over Christmas because their families don't want them to go home for whatever reason. One's got a very rich dad, and his dad and mum have shot off to the Alps and they've left him behind, So you got some kids who are holdovers. They have to stay in the school over Christmas, which means that one of the teachers has to stay in the school over Christmas to look after them, to supervise them. And there's a bit of a sort of lottery held as to which teacher is it going to be who's going to have to stay in the school over Christmas. Okay. Unfortunately for him, the teacher that's chosen has to look after these kids. He has to take care of them. He has to look after them. He has to. So I'm just trying to bring up the cast on my phone. That's okay. He has to. He has to take care of them. There's one boy in particular who gets left behind that this teacher, played by Paul Giamatti, has to look after. The only other person in the school, by the way, is the cook, who cooks meals for them. The film becomes a story of the relationship between this grumpy teacher who's resenting the fact that he can't go and spend Christmas where he wants to spend Christmas, but he has to stay in the school to look after these kids that are being left behind. It becomes about the relationship between him and one of the students who is left behind. And it's lovely. It's set in the 70s. They deliberately went out of their way to make it look like it was set in the 70s. The soundtrack sounds as if Simon and Garfunkel recorded it. It is at their height in the 70s. It is a wonderful, wonderful, joyous Christmas film because it's about this developing relationship between this teacher, this miserable teacher who's so angry about the fact he's got to stay behind. He's the teacher being allotted to miss out on Christmas to look after these kids and the kids he has to look after. Honestly, it's very moving. There's a scene involving the cook where she talks about what happened to her son. Not going to tell you what happened to her son, but look out for that scene. It's on streaming now. I've got it on Blu-ray. As I say, I saw it in January, and it is in my top 5 of the year and will be. And, it's just one of those films that I think is going to become a Christmas tradition for many people because it does, towards the end, as this relationship between teacher and unruly pupil develops, become very much about the true meaning of Christmas. Obviously, in a sense, not about Jesus, but what people see is the meaning: reconciliation, friendship, love, and so on. And I just think it's a wonderful, wonderful film. Paul Giamatti won the Oscar this year for his performance as this grumpy teacher, and the film won several other Oscars. It is a comedy drama set at Christmas in a boarding school and about a relationship between a teacher and a pupil he has to look after over the holidays. Really, really top class filmmaking. And in actual fact, even when you go and see it in the cinema, and it's on the Blu-ray, when the certificate comes up, they've actually done the certificate as if it was the 1970s. So rather than the modern looking certificate, it's got a certificate that would have accompanied the film if it had been made in the 70s. So it's great attention to detail on this film. Really great attention. The soundtrack is fantastic. I love Simon and Garfunkel. The soundtrack is absolutely fantastic. Go see it, folks. It is available on streaming, and it's called The Holdovers. And next week, Lord of the Rings news.
That sounds very exciting.
It is.
Well, thanks so much, Andy. Some great films there to watch not only in the cinemas, but also at home. Those sound very interesting, especially Conclave. Sounds like a great... Did you say it was more like almost like a whodunit kind of film?
Yeah, it is. It's a murder. It's almost like a murder mystery thriller with Ralph Fiennes playing a detective, almost plays a detective. But it's really good how slowly and surely the secrets of these 3 men who would be Pope begin to come out. And of course, the secrets they're hiding make them totally unsuitable to be Pope. But it looks like one of them is going to be Pope.
Yeah.
But this guy, now what does he do? Because we all know that in the Roman Catholic Church, when you go to confess your sins, the priest is not allowed to tell other people. So one of the dilemmas that Ray Fiennes faces as he uncovers their secrets is, do I tell other people? Do I stop these guys becoming, do I spill the beans on their past that I've discovered? And he finds things hidden in the Pope's private office. He finds things online. He hears rumors. He starts to investigate. As I say, he's almost like a Father Brown, from the TV series, the detective series, investigating these. Conclave. It is a really good film, and it is being touted for the Oscars next year. And I think there's a very strong chance that Ray Fiennes will win the Oscar for Best Actor because he's fantastic in this. I mean, the last time we saw him, really, he's been in a number of films. Last time we saw him was as M in the last Bond film. So this is a totally different character altogether that he's playing. But it's engaging. I sat on the edge of my seat trying to figure things out myself. Who's who and how's this going to end and who's going to be the Pope and which one is going to be elected, or will the secrets come out? And the revelations are really good, really well handled. As I say, it's based on a best-selling book, which I haven't read. I'm going to read the book now, and I'm going to go back and see it again because honestly, it really is worth seeing.
Well, excellent. Thanks so much, Andy. Some great films there. Great from families. Got Moana, If, and also The Holdovers as we come toward Christmas. That sounds really good, honestly, to be honest. I mean,
The Holdovers is great. The Holdovers is great. The Holdovers is this comedy drama film that just is so engaging and so lovely and so warming, really, as it goes on. It starts off quite cold. I mean, the teacher walks in the room on the last day of class and he says he's handing out exam results. And he says, none of you have passed your exams. And frankly, I'm not surprised because you're all useless idiots, you see. And then they go off for Christmas and some kids are left behind. That's how it kind of starts.
Wow.
There's a really funny scene when he's handing out the results of the exam papers, Um, and one of the pupils puts his hand up and says, "Sir, I can't imagine why I've got a D plus for my exam." And he says, "No, that's because you have no imagination." And there's lots of feedback, lots of comeback. Honestly, I saw it in January. It came out here in January last year. It's been with me all year. It's now available on streaming, and people need to see it. It's really good. 12A certificate.
Yeah, well, that does sound like a really good change to a lot of the
Yeah.
Christmas films we see, which are very, very funny, very exciting, very silly even. But that sounds like a bit more of a
It's
much more
I
serious
mean
plotline.
it's so much better than Red One, where Santa Claus gets kidnapped again. You know, Red One is just terrible. If we do a Christmas special in a couple of weeks' time, we'll count down some Christmas films. But Red One won't be in them. I mean, it's just but the Holdovers will be. The Holdovers, I think, will become a Christmas tradition. Every now and again, a film comes out at Christmas, and you think, I'm going to watch that every Christmas. I mean, for me, it's The Wizard of Oz. It's The Muppet Christmas Carol. It's On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is a Christmas James Bond movie, in my opinion. It's this, The Holdovers. There's a couple of others, a film called Krampus, which I really like. So I think this will be up there with Home Alone and with Die Hard and the other great Christmas movies that we love. I think people will love it, and I did. Yeah,
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. But thanks so much, Andy, for bringing us these movie reviews
my
once
pleasure.
again. I'll
Let's
see you
hear
again next
people's
week.
views.
Yes, absolutely. Love to hear your views on some of these films that Andy Godfrey has reviewed, and let us know. Hello at pure247radio.org. But thank you so much, Andy.
My pleasure. Thanks, Nathan. God bless you. God bless everybody up here. See you soon.